there. I'm Nadira Jamal, hostess of the Belly Dance Geek Clubhouse online radio show. Welcome to this special interview series with some of the instructors from the 2015 Las Vegas Belly Dance Intensive. The intensive, now in its final year, will be held September 10th through 13th at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. To make sure that you don't miss out on this epic event, visit bellydanceintensive.com. My guest today is Ranya Renee, who will be teaching fancy footwork, combos in the style of Mahmoud Reda. Ranya Renee of New York City is a leading Egyptian-style dancer and teacher. She tours internationally and is known for her popular workshops, performance coaching, and instructional DVDs, Belly Dance Egyptian Style The Ballady, Belly Dance Egyptian Style Modern Oriental, and Belly Dance Takasim, Improvisation Skills and Drills. Ranya organizes live Arabic music and dance events in New York and is also the co-director of the New York Theatrical Belly Dance Conference. She's also just earned her master's degree in psychology from New York's New School for Social Research. You can check her out at ranya.net, spelled ranya.net, or at theatricalbellydance.com. Thanks so much for joining me, Ranya.
Thank you, Nadira. It's good to be here.
And congrats on your graduation.
I know. I just finished my big paper, and I'm still going to be writing a master's thesis, but I have earned my general master's, and then it'll get upgraded to a research master's once I finished my big study. But besides that, this is a milestone, so I'm very excited.
That's
and
awesome.
ready to dance a lot this summer.
So can you tell us about the workshop that you'll be teaching at the intensive?
Yes. I love Mahmoud Reda's style, and I did not start out liking his style. And so I feel like the way that I learned how to really appreciate his genius and his teaching, it just took a lot of patience and learning, like, what is the underlying system for his method and his technique, from which he's created all these beautiful choreographies for his company and also for dancers around the world, since he's been teaching quite a long time. And I actually just got off the phone with him. He's in Cairo, and he's not quite in his dancing prime anymore, shall we say? And he's still just really nice to talk to, and he's been a very supportive teacher and one of my mentors, and I'm just grateful to be able to share his work with other people. So the style of footwork that he created mixes traditional Egyptian dance steps with influences from ballet and American theater dance and ballroom and flamenco, and just the international dance forms that he studied when he was a young dancer. And he created this really interesting mix of steps that are kind of like an alphabet of different moves, just like you have different movements in ballet or different types of moves that then you can combine into combinations. And his style has really influenced the whole, just the direction of contemporary Egyptian Oriental dance in addition to folklore. So he really was quite a major pioneer, and the effects of his work are being seen in the newer crops of teachers that are teaching all over the world too.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a little bit about there being this underlying system. Can you tell us how much of your workshop is going to be about this system specifically versus just teaching combinations as material?
Well, we're going to be, when I have gone to study with Mahmoud in his studio, sometimes by myself, sometimes with some of my students, it was always like he would kind of have an idea of what we were going to work on that day, and he would drill the foundational movements that go into that choreography. And this is, working with him privately or in really small groups, I got more of a window and this underlying system, which is basically it's, just like these steps that then you put together into combinations, and maybe, it's like a meze plate. You take a little hummus, and you take a little baba ganoush, and you take a little tahini, and you take a little, pickles, whatever, and you put them together for a combination. But there are building blocks for each of those combinations that go into, the combinations then become a choreography. So I will be drilling the building blocks along with then building them into the combinations that we'll be practicing in the workshop. So you can kind of see like what it's like on the foundational level, and then putting them together for combinations. It becomes very satisfying, like when you recognize those individual elements that make up the choreography or the combination. And I think it's a less frustrating way. I mean, it makes sense to learn it that way, and I think it's a way for people to get the movements into their bodies. I have a lot of tricks and tips for how to not become frustrated with Reda style, because even myself, like when I took my first workshop with Mahmoud, which was probably in like 1995 maybe, I was so frustrated that I left like halfway through, because it was so difficult to catch on, and just this rapid fire sequence of weight changes and combinations. And I was thinking, oh, he's not very nice that he would make us do this and we don't know what we're doing. I mean, I was a young dancer too, but I got very easily frustrated. And then I met him. He came back to New York on another occasion, and I took a private lesson with him in addition to his workshops. And I saw how nice he was, and how just such a smart teacher. And, it just made me see what he was doing, and how clever he was to have created this, and also just how he had, in his years of teaching, just seen it and done it, and could identify so quickly what people's issues would be with the combinations and how to fix them. And it just took a little patience on my part to see that there are solutions for all of the tricky parts of his dances, so that you can feel more comfortable with it. I taught this material recently in San Francisco, and there were a few people that were very new to the Reda style. And we actually did like a private lesson, or a private small group lesson before the workshops, just to kind of get them on the right track with it. And they still found it challenging, but it was like I saw improvement each lesson that they took before the main workshop. And it really is something that you can get. So I want to just share people with that. Like, it's something you can get, and it's so satisfying once you get it. And, it's very easy to make mistakes with this stuff, because there's so many rapid fire weight changes. I remember assisting Mahmoud in Toronto when he was teaching there with his choreography, and Sahra was also with me, and she's also somebody who really knows Reda style very deeply. And both of us had a hard time, like, just picking up quickly the new choreography that he was teaching us that we had not seen before either. And he's in his 80s, and he was creating this new challenging choreography that two experienced dancers really had to work on picking up. So it's the kind of thing that, your appreciation for the technique, like a fine wine, will get deeper over time and richer. And it's just really satisfying to jump in and work on this stuff. And I'll have a lot of, tips and tricks for people who do have Reda experience already also, because there are a lot of little nuances to the technique, and that you may overlook if you haven't done it for a while. And, so there'll be something for everybody, I think, in the workshop. I mean, obviously we're going to start in the more basic way and then ramp it up so that we're doing more complicated stuff towards the end. And, but there will be something for everybody at every level, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the benefits of, pursuing Reda style?
Well, besides building your character, because it will. And you'll feel a sense of that you've survived it if you're able to really get something. But not to get too confident, because then you'll make another mistake. But no, it's. I think that if you can get this, then other choreography in Egyptian style dance will become so much easier. Most of the people who are from Egypt teaching choreography were influenced by Mahmoud Reda in some way. My main teacher, Yusri Sharif, took classes at the Reda studio. Ranya Hassan, probably most people know, was a member of the Reda troupe. Randa Kamal was a member of the Reda troupe, not while Mahmoud was in charge of the troupe, but she was also a member of the troupe. So that style, Muhammad Al Husseini, that style of choreographing is something that people have that is their foundation that they're coming from. So if you can learn the foundation from which they develop their own styles, then I think it's a real benefit, and it makes it a lot easier to learn choreography from other Egyptian teachers who are working in the choreography realm. And I should mention here too, this interesting point is, I'm quite interested in Reda style, and I'm also really interested in the classic style. And I've actually spent the past several years mostly doing classic style and not doing as much modern style in a conscious way, because I just really wanted to kind of separate out the differences in my own body of the old school style and the new school style. And which is something that I also have been teaching a lot, like how to separate those styles. And a lot of the modern Oriental or contemporary Oriental style is very choreography driven. And the traditional classical style is not choreography driven. It's really improv driven, music driven in terms of the melody, whereas the choreography driven style, it's based on the style for groups. So the synchronization is very important. So you would have to be on the beat and do it in counts of 8, for example. Mm-hmm. So it's much more of a rhythmic focus, which I think if you look at modern Oriental style today, from people who've had that folklore training, and by folklore, I mean, and they say folklore, it means in the style of the Reda troupe or the Farqat Qawmiya, which is the national troupe, or any one of the many smaller folk troupes that are influenced by those. We're not talking about folk dance from the villages when we talk about folklore. So this was something that was a little confusing to me to start with, because a lot of people will think, Belly is folklore. And that's actually not how the Egyptians consider it. Folklore, when they say the word folklore, they use the English word like that. They're talking about the very stylized stage style that might have costuming that's reminiscent of the village or country dances, but which is very much for the stage, ballet influenced in the tradition of Mahmoud Reda. So at the time, actually, when I was editing the Belly DVD, I wasn't even completely fully aware of this division. And Nabawi, the accordion player that I work with, he said, "Why do you keep talking about folkloric? Belly is not folkloric." And we edited all those out of the DVD. And I have to thank the editor, because anytime I mentioned folkloric, he was like, "No, it's not. It's not. That's the whole point." So it's not choreographed. It's not for the stage. You're not originally for the stage. So I think this is one of those little things that American dancers might not always learn, or Western dancers might not always learn initially, that there really is this big division in Egyptian dance between home style and street style dance, or awalim style, wedding dancers at parties, or the old style nightclub dancers who didn't have that group training, and the modern style, like people like Randa Kamal, who are doing something. I mean, she teaches choreography. I know that she improvises when she's performing, but her body, her dance vocabulary is highly influenced by the choreographed style. And of course, there's a lot of other people who are doing that more sort of step oriented style, even if they're improvising. And I mean, I can improvise doing Reda style also, but it's an approach that's really different from the old style. So okay, so where was I going with that? It's important for people to see the difference between these things. You may know, maybe people listening know how I've been working a lot with Nani, who Nani is based in Paris. She's an Egyptian dancer who was a big star in Egypt in the 90s, and left it all, moved to Paris, and then very recently has gotten back into it, and we'll see each other at a festival in Egypt this June. But she and I have been working a lot together and also discussing a lot the current scene in Middle Eastern dance, because she was away from it for a long time. And she says that, when she was trained by Awelim. She started working professionally at age 15, dancing at weddings, and just, went into the nightclubs. She never had folklore training. She didn't have choreography training. So it's a very different, more organic way of developing the steps. And then, she would look at people like Randa Kamel, who are folklore trained, and say, it's really kind of a fusion that they're doing. It's a fusion between Oriental and folklore. And it's interesting because I think, like, most people don't think of that fusion. They don't call that fusion today. Like, most American dancers or North American dancers that I know, when they talk about fusion, they're talking about something else. But so it was kind of funny to hear her discuss it like that. But it really is, it's an innovation. And where does it come from? It comes from the Reda style. It comes from the people who've had the training in the folklore groups who worked with combinations that were like based on counts of 8. And so I think that it's good to have an appreciation of the more classic traditional style and also of the modern style, and to see it and experience it in your dancing from the source point of where it came from, which is this great pioneer Mahmoud Reda. I think it's really important. Like, even though he is not traveling to teach now, it's important for me to keep alive his legacy and just the fun of it, just the fun and the challenge of it that feels so good when you get it in your body and when you can get on a roll with it.
Mm-hmm. And who would you say that this workshop is most appropriate for? Are there particular styles or levels or personality types who would get more out of it than others?
Well, let me say this. Like, I was a very easily frustrated person when I started, but when I got exposed to this more and more, I really saw the value of it, and I was able to kind of chill out and not be as frustrated and really take the benefits of it. And it's been like just a great gift for me to be able to not only to work with Mahmoud, but also to be able to do this stuff because it's challenging. But I feel like I'm a good teacher for this style because I can handhold a little bit for the people that need those pointers for starting out with the Reda style. But we will ramp it up quickly. So I would say, like, if you're not fast on your feet, give it a shot anyway, because you're going to get the basics, you're going to get the preparation, and maybe by the end of it, it may feel like, oh my God, this is where I have to sit down, or I have to watch for a little while, or take it in bite-sized pieces. But you're going to get a lot from it that I think you can apply not only to doing this style, but to doing other styles of Egyptian and Arabic dance. So I think that it's appropriate for everybody, but I want to make sure that I'm able to challenge the people that have this experience already, as well as the people who are more new to it. And it's really fun. I mean, it's really, I don't want to scare anybody, because it's really fun. And it's just, once you learn these foundational moves, you will really be able to apply them over and over because they come up in all of his combinations. And so it's kind of it's a cool thing. it's a cool thing to just be able to start working with this if you haven't already. And it's also really fun to review it if you have had experience with it before, or if you've had experience with other contemporary Egyptian teachers like Yusri Sharif or Randa Kamel or Tito, for example, who have folklore backgrounds and who are really incorporating this type of material in their work.
And is there a tip that you could share with us now so folks could start getting a little taste of it?
So a tip. Well, I would say watch some of the Reda Troupe videos online so that you have an idea of what you're aiming for and kind of what place Mahmoud Reda had in Egyptian film history and in dance history, because it really is significant what he did. The Egyptian dance, or dance made in Egypt, was not performed at the Opera House, which is a very prestigious location. It was only on the street before he and his company brought it to the Opera House. And so he really, and this was like in the late 50s, like around 1959. And then he ended up traveling all over the world with his group. So it's really a pivotal point in Egyptian dance where the dance as an art form started getting more respect from Egyptians, and, you know, even from higher culture in Egypt. So look at the videos. That is one thing. And you can just search for Reda Troupe online, or Reda, and you'll probably find some things.
And can you spell that for us so folks know what to search for?
Yeah, Reda. It should be Reda, Reda. Sometimes you might see it spelled Rida, or I. Those are probably most common spellings. But you'll find a lot that way. And Mahmoud, if you want to find Mahmoud, it's Mahmoud, maybe Mud, but usually Moud. So that would be one thing. And then I would say the other thing that is really important for getting this style, which those of you who've studied with me before will know that I talk a lot about using your pelvic floor muscles to lift your body weight upward and to have your weight sort of maintained by your torso muscles and not only on your feet. So I would say, like, start doing your Kegel exercises and, finding out how to lift those pelvic floor muscles. Like, if you have to pee and you're holding it and you lift up through there, you don't not pee, though, for, like, a long time. But, just to kind of experience those muscles, feel how that is when you're walking around using those muscles. Because that will help you if you end up on the wrong foot and you're supporting your weight from your pelvic floor instead of from, having all your weight on your foot. It will make it much quicker for you to change to the other side, because you won't have sort of all of your weight invested in one foot, and then you realize you're on the wrong foot. So one of the things that I always tell people, if they feel frustrated learning choreography, as I used to when I was starting, you have 2 feet, like you have a 50% chance of being on the wrong foot. So one wrong move or one accent, or one step too few, you're going to be on the wrong foot. So get used to it, because you're going to be on the wrong foot sometimes, but you can fix it quickly if you're lifting your weight upward in your body. This is actually something that I do explain on my Modern Oriental DVD. And so if people do want some good preparation, like from my perspective of how I got this kind of stuff, get my Modern Oriental DVD, which you can get on my website. And if I think like that DVD goes into a lot of detail about footwork in general. And if you practice with some of the footwork combinations, I think it will get you in a good place for doing this material. Even though it's not exactly the same, it's kind of coming from the same philosophy and the same, like, how can you get comfortable doing choreography where you have a lot of weight changes in your feet, and how to manage those. Mm-hmm. So.
And I've seen that, and it's really good, so I second the recommendation.
Oh, well, thank you. So there's a part that I talk about it, like how do you manage your weight changes, how to figure out what foot you're supposed to be on, or, how many weight changes that there are. And that I think would be really, yeah, I just thought of that. Like that would be actually pretty helpful preparation, I think, for the Reda stuff, because it's really like that is how I learned it, is by having to learn, by having to find a way of learning the Mahmoud Reda material in a way that wouldn't frustrate me. And so I have this kind of like scientific approach, I guess, to that. I mean, it's a little bit scientific. It's like now I'm actually almost a scientist, but back then I was sort of a pseudoscientist. So anyhow, but that's what I would say as would be a good preparation. And I'm super excited, by the way, to be teaching again at the Las Vegas event. I was a headliner 2 years ago, and that was such a great experience. And Samira was such a gracious hostess, and I just had a blast. And so when I found out that this was her last one, I was like, I have to be there for this one too. So I'm very happy to be able to share this workshop, and actually I'm going to also be presenting a group piece of a Reda choreography, which I'm very excited about. A little collaboration with Amanda Rose from Phoenix, her group. So that's something I'm also really looking forward to, and we're going to be presenting that on at the Friday night gala show on the big stage. So that's pretty cool. And I'll be around all that weekend for people who want to take private lessons and get some Reda therapy privately, or other therapy. Not real therapy. I'm not licensed, but you know what I mean. Dance therapy for your dancing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Ranya.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you'd like to learn more from Ranya, you can check her out at ranya.net or theatricalbellydanceintensive.com.
Oh, it's just theatricalbellydance.com.
Thank you, theatricalbellydance.com.
and that's going to be in 2016. So that's next thing you can look forward to. But for now, see you in Vegas, because we are going to have a fabulous time.
Yeah, and remember that this is the last time this event is going to be held, so don't miss out. You can register now at bellydanceintensive.com.
It's so much fun. You will not regret it. The pool is amazing. You can, hang out by the pool. It's so, I mean, not just the pool. It's really a fabulous event, which is why I'm coming back. So you have to come. That's it.
Absolutely.
Be there, be square.
Yep. And if you'd like to hear more interviews with our fabulous instructors, visit bellydancegeek.com/Vegas 2015.